I've been using Claude Code for 5 months now, and I'm completely astonished by how it's changed over time. From the release of Opus 4.5 to being able to edit entire videos with the Remotion video skill, and the endless possibilities that you get by combining various skills and commands. Of course, there were also some bumps, such as when they decided to enforce a very stupid rule to ban users who were using third-party tools like OpenCode with their Anthropic subscription. Now, fortunately, I did not get banned, but I do recommend you to watch out, and if you do use any of these tools, consider subscribing to them directly instead of using the Anthropic subscription. But today, I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to share with you guys what my current Claude Code setup is, how it looks like, and how I use it day to day. Without further ado, let's get started. So I think it makes sense to get started by looking at my global CloudMD file. So let's do that. And this is how it looks like. And starting off right off the bat, this is probably one of the most ingenious things I've ever seen on Twitter. So if you read here, never use rmrf, it's blocked by the command validator hook for safety. Use trash instead, trash folder name or trash file text, which is exactly like rm, but just safer. And what this basically does, instead of completely deleting the file and getting rid of it, you actually just move it to your trash folder, which is way safer, especially with agents, since you never know what they will do. And just for good measure, I also have a hook set up which blocks basically the entire rm command. And I can't tell you how many times this has been a lifesaver for me. Like the agent would just delete some random file and I go back into the trash and just restore it. And again, the same goes for folders. Now I'm pretty sure this is only for macOS, but I'm sure you can make your own alternative for Windows if you really wanted to. The next thing is that after every response, I get a little confetti effect and it looks like this. And this basically just helps me stay kind of focused, I guess, on the task that I'm doing, because I found that notifications are kind of not very good at keeping you focused on a single task. And they're kind of annoying, especially with the sound they make. Before I show you the next line, we'll actually first have to take a look at the MCP servers that I'm using. And we can do that by just going into my global settings, Claude settings.json. Then we can go all the way down. And as you can see, I have 4 MCP servers. One is Canva CLI, DataFast, Context7, and App Store Connect. Now these are all very useful servers, and let's go through them one by one so I can explain what they do. Canva CLI is basically just a CLI for the Canva design app, and it's not a very intricate CLI app, but you can create basic designs and export them, which is very useful if you want to create logos using Claude. DataFast is the analytics service that I use for Shiori AI, which is my own AI chat app. Link in the description. You can't actually get the whole analytics as far as I know, so you can just get the specific visitor analytics, which is not very useful at the moment, but I like to do it sometimes. Then Context7 is by far the most useful MCP server that I've ever used. And it's convinced me that MCP servers are good for something. And basically what this does, it just gets the documentation for a specific library or framework that you want to use. So the agent always has up-to-date code. And last but not least, we have App Store Connect. And what this does is, if you work a lot with iOS apps, this helps you stay updated. This helps you create new reviews. Now you could use the browser for this as well. I've tried it. I find the MCP server to be more user-friendly. And if it can't do something, I'll just tell it to use the Chrome browser. Now we can go back to our CloudMD file. And yeah, this is the Context7 MCP server that I just talked about. And here I'm just saying, if you need any information about external libraries or frameworks, feel free to utilize the Context7 MCP server. Next up, we have the LaTeX skill, or rather here I'm just telling it to use it if I want to create an LaTeX document. I'll show you this skill later. And here is a very important thing. So up until recently, I've been working a lot with very large PDF files. And instead of having Claude read them directly, what I found out is better is that you tell it to use the Gemini CLI to analyze these PDFs. And you can do that by saying Gemini-P, and here it can enter its prompt and attach the Gemini 3 Pro preview model. Now you could use Gemini 3 Flash as well, but yeah, I just prefer the Pro model so far, but I'm sure there's not a huge difference. And this just helps it stay clear in the context. You're not convoluting the context a lot by reading these huge PDF files. And yeah, this is just something that's a quality of life improvement. Right, so next up, we'll actually take a look at the skills that I have. And if we go to .claude/skills, we see I have all these skills. Now, most of these I don't actually use. These are just skills that I test out, and I will just be discussing the ones that I use on a day-to-day basis. Now, the first skill that I want to discuss, and which is also the craziest one by far, is the new iOS app skill. So if you go ahead and go into that directory, we can see we have a skill.md file. Let's take a look at it. And what this skill basically does, it generates an entire app from scratch. And yes, you heard that right, including the logo, including the brand, including everything basically. And it does this in one entire sitting. And what it even does, it creates an app through App Store Connect and uploads the app for review. So essentially what you could do is just run this entire skill every single day and have a new app every single day. Now, if you can mark it, this is literally a goldmine, which is why I will not be sharing this script, since I feel like this is pretty much AGI. And if you actually do want it, you can DM me on Twitter and we'll sort something out there. Next up, we have the front-end design skill, which is incredibly useful if you're doing anything related to UI and UX, especially web design. And what this basically does, it just tells it to remove the generic AI slop, as you can see here, and just like remove the purple gradients, for example, use better fonts, and just overall improve the design of your app. I've actually seen really good designs with this one, so I definitely recommend this. You can download this from the official plugins from Claude Code, so I don't think you need to actually install anything. Next up, we have the LaTeX Pro skill, which I use to generate LaTeX documents. So if you have a look at it, let's take a look. This is basically just a little document outlining how a LaTeX project could look like, including my preferences, what fonts I like to use, and how to use ticks, because a lot of the times it actually can't use that package very well. And yeah, I definitely recommend this one. I actually made this myself, so if you want it, I can upload it to GitHub, let me know in the comments. Now that we're done with the skills, let's take a look at the commands that I use for Claude Code. And here I just have 3 very simple commands that I use day to day. Now, brief is the first one, and I don't actually use this anymore. And I know I just said I use it every day, but let me explain first of all. So what this does, it generates a daily life summary with the emails, WhatsApp messages, a universe fact, and some vocabulary words in a specified language. And this is really nice because while you're making your coffee in the morning, you can just turn this on and it'll give you a brief summary of the day. And it'll give you a brief summary of the day, which is why I called it brief. Now, I have since moved away from this skill, and I've actually made a specified GUI for this. And this is how it looks like. Go into the settings, set up the credentials and everything. You can change the day here, and you can generate new summaries for the day by clicking on this button right here. And in the background, it will actually launch the Claude Agent SDK, which uses the browser tool and other tools to create this summary for you. And this is actually also on GitHub, so feel free to download it. The next command that I have is dslop. And what this does, it just checks the diff, the current diff against main, and it removes any AI generated slop from the current branch. Now, why is this useful? Because if you're working with other people, it's not really nice to have this obvious AI code. So what I like to do is to just remove that type of code and minify, simplify, and do whatever I can basically to make the AI generated code more readable and more maintainable. So I recommend this as well. It's very simple. You can just copy this. The last command that I use a lot is rams, and this just runs accessibility checks on your web app. It also says visual design review, but I've not really seen it do very well for that. I mainly use it for accessibility purposes, so if I implement a new feature, I just run it through rams and check if any accessibility issues arise, and if yes, it just fixes it for me. And honestly, that was pretty much it. It's nothing magical, it's nothing too special, but it still helps me be very productive in my own way. If you liked anything that you saw in this video, consider subscribing and liking the video. Feel free to share the tips that you learned with other people. Now, one thing I did want to mention is that browser skill, or tool more so, from Claude Code is very flaky. So when I was using Zen as my main browser, which is a Firefox-based browser, it was working very fine, since I could just get it to use the first Chrome browser it found. But when I switched back to Arc a bit, it didn't work. And the reason for that is because Arc actually doesn't have a sidebar for the Claude extension. So you'll have to use a browser that's compatible, for example, the Chrome browser or Helium. I recommend Helium since it's a lot faster. With that said, I hope you enjoyed the video. I really wasn't able to make much content these past days, or weeks rather, since I was very focused on studying for my finals, but that's finally over now. I can finally get back to making content, and yeah, see you in the next one.